Try to give him to us. So he'll be a guy that, if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point in his career.
Crawford took the moving up in weight classes serious. He did the dieting, he did the training. So I feel like when you put in work like that,
let's call a spade, right? When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's gonna be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way, but I'll give you Roy Jones Jr. You know, Roy Jones Jr. Put on weight, was muscular as he moved up the weight classes, and it didn't affect him.
Roy Jones Jr. believes Canelo Alvarez cannot survive against Terence Crawford, citing a lack of energy and sharpness that Canelo once had. He expressed disappointment at Canelo's current state, questioning why he appears diminished at this stage of his career. In contrast, Jones praised Crawford's determination, focus, and elite skill set. He emphasized that weight difference will not play a deciding role because Crawford's technique, timing, and ring IQ can neutralize any size advantage. According to Jones, facing a fighter as skilled and relentless as Crawford will expose Canelo's current limitations, making the matchup far more dangerous than many anticipate.
It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch. And what I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford, a Crawford that has been looking for the opportunity for a long time, finally getting the opportunity, and really ready to grab the opportunity. And with Canelo, I see a guy who not necessarily hungry, but loves to entertain, loves to give us the big fights. Always tries to give the big fights. He finds a way to give us big fights. Not gonna always win them, but he always tries to give them to us. So he'll be a guy that, if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point in his career. I don't know. It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch.
Yeah. You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
Roy Jones warns that if Canelo enters the fight with an overconfident mindset, believing victory over Terence is certain, he risks a harsh reality check. Jones emphasizes that underestimating Terence's skill and strategy could lead to Canelo facing a tough and potentially punishing defeat in the ring.
You know, it's a hard one to call, and I'm going to tell you why it's a hard one to call. It's a hard one to call because it'll all be predicated upon how Canelo approaches the fight. If Canelo approaches the fight like he's the man and he can box and outbox Terence Crawford, he'll get beat. If he comes out and shows that he really wants to go out and prove the world that he's still the best, he might win. So it all depends on which Canelo comes to the dance.
Olympic boxer Omari Jones has openly expressed his belief that Terence Crawford will come out victorious against Canelo Alvarez. According to Jones, Crawford's weight gain for this fight is unlike the usual approach taken by fighters moving up in divisions. Instead of adding size recklessly, Crawford has approached the process with careful planning and precise execution. Jones explained that Crawford has maintained his speed and agility by incorporating the right diet and conditioning routines while putting in the hard work necessary to compete at a higher weight class. This methodical preparation, Jones believes, makes the matchup more of a win-win situation for Crawford.
the grit and me personally meeting Crawford several times, it's like the man is just so competitive. It's like I don't even have to say nothing to him. He'll just like, man, when we sparring, it's like his competitiveness is always gonna put him over the edge, and then he just has that like, I'm not gonna let you bully me, or his skill set. And it, I know they talk about Charlo when Charlo moved up, but I feel like it may be a little bit different for Canelo this time around because Crawford took the moving up in weight classes serious. He did the dieting, he did the training. So I feel like when you put in work like that, it's a win-win. So
So you don't think Crawford, gaining that weight, because I saw him, he's pretty big. You don't
Yes.
think that's going to be a disadvantage for him in this fight?
No, it looked like he put it on the right way.
Even if the physical challenge of facing a bigger opponent is real, the skills, discipline, and commitment Crawford is showing will allow him to adapt effectively. Jones points out that Crawford is not just adding weight for the sake of size. He is enhancing his body to carry that weight efficiently without losing the qualities that make him so dangerous in the ring. For Jones, this fight is a showcase of a disciplined athlete pushing himself to new limits and proving his ability to rise to the occasion against one of boxing's most formidable champions.
Right way. You know, the nutrition, the like I said, the training. You know, Crawford, he trains hard. So I feel like, I know they say he probably went up to like 185, so he has to lose that weight. But I think if he did it the right way, which I know he did, he'll be successful in September.
And I know you, like we discussed earlier, we talked with your pro debut, and now you're 3-0. Your last fight, July 19th against Blanco, and it was actually your third win by knockout.
Yes.
I'm super proud of you. How are you feeling about your pro career so far?
I'm feeling great about my pro career. I definitely feel like it's off to a great start. My pro debut in my hometown, and then I was my second fight, Atlantic City, on the Boots card, and then my third fight on the Bam Rodriguez undercard. So Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, they're putting me on these cards, shining light on me, giving me the TV time.
Former world champion Paulie Malignaggi has taken note of Crawford's transformation, particularly his physical size going into this bout. Malignaggi observed that Crawford appears significantly larger, but he views this as a major advantage rather than a liability. In his view, Crawford has managed to increase his mass without sacrificing the quickness, footwork, and timing that have defined his career. Malignaggi explained that many fighters who move up in weight tend to lose their sharpness, becoming slower and less mobile.
I mean, listen, let's call a spade, right? When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's going to be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way, but I'll give you Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Put on weight, was muscular as he moved up the weight classes, and it didn't affect him. Good old Manny Pacquiao did the same thing, So there's times where it affects, and there's times where I guess if you put it on the right way. Only Crawford knows it because the way he's training, right? Because you're going to be sparring with this added weight. You're going to be doing the boxing training with this added weight. So you're going to know how to, maybe taper it down if you need to, or keep it going if you need to. I think over the course of camp, if you start to feel too yoked up and, you get big, and then, you're sacrificing reflexes, you're sacrificing athleticism, I think you're going to feel it.
Crawford, however, appears to have struck the perfect balance, gaining the strength and durability required to face a naturally larger opponent like Canelo, while maintaining the agility needed to execute his style. Malignaggi credits Crawford's professionalism and attention to detail in training, noting that the physical growth appears to complement his existing skill set. In short, Malignaggi believes Crawford will be able to perform at his peak despite the jump in weight, and could even benefit from the added power when facing Canelo's pressure.
Heavyweight kind of weight. What's your thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, Roy Jones is Roy Jones, but also Terence Crawford is Terence Crawford. But John Ruiz is not Canelo Alvarez. So that's another aspect of that comparison. And yes, exactly what the champ said, exactly what Abel Sanchez said, you're going to put on weight, you're going to be a different fighter. And I can say this even as a fighter as myself, as I've gotten heavier in my retirement, I try and move around the gym, it just feels different. And even when you start camp, you feel different in the beginning than you do at the end. But listen, we're still 4 or 5 weeks away. I don't know exactly what Terence is weighing right now. And even if he does say what he weighs, man, he's gone out there and said he's weighed, all types of crazy numbers just to get media to respond. So it's really not really going to know until the fight and we see these guys next to each other. He might look bigger right now, but he might not be that heavy.
Renowned boxing analyst Max Kellerman has offered a sharp technical breakdown of the matchup between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Kellerman emphasized that Crawford's jab has become one of the most precise and effective weapons in the sport today. It is fast, well-timed, and capable of controlling the rhythm of a fight. While Canelo once possessed a similarly sharp jab earlier in his career, Kellerman noted that it has diminished in recent years. This difference gives Crawford a clear advantage in terms of range control and point scoring. Beyond the jab, Kellerman pointed to Crawford's tactical intelligence, describing him as a fighter who makes adjustments in real time and exploits openings that others cannot see.
That attribute. First attribute, best jab. Crawford. Best defense.
Crawford. Nowadays, Crawford. I would say early in the fight, Canelo. And earlier in his career, Canelo. But he hasn't been that kind of fighter in recent years. Although Crawford is also hittable. With any fighter, when you talk about their defense, the question is not, can they be hit with a shot? You take punches. Everyone, the greatest defensive fighters ever get hit. Pernell Whitaker, Willie Pep, Floyd Mayweather, they all get hit. The question is, can you hit them with combinations? And both guys are hard to hit. With the two-piece, hard to hit.
So who has the best footwork out of the two?
In terms of cutting off the ring, last fight notwithstanding, Canelo has gotten much better at cutting off the ring.
He contrasted this with Canelo's reliance on his natural size, strength, and power, which often allows him to dominate smaller opponents. In Kellerman's view, if Crawford can neutralize Canelo's forward momentum and force him into a thinking match, the tactical battle will heavily favor Crawford. This combination of technical precision and fight IQ is, in Kellerman's opinion, one of Crawford's greatest assets going into this clash.
Early in his career, he had a problem with that and was much more comfortable counterpunching. But overall, I have to say Crawford. If you go down the list and ask me about tactical advantages, most of them are Crawford. What Canelo has is size, and as a result, physical strength and punching power. Canelo also has a great chin. But in terms of, if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford.
Okay.
But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton.
Popular boxing commentator, Showbizz the Adult, has provided a balanced and respectful take on the fight. He acknowledged Canelo's physical strength and the intensity of his training camps, which have consistently allowed him to maintain dominance at the highest levels. Canelo's ability to absorb punishment, apply pressure, and execute crisp counterpunches makes him a dangerous opponent for any fighter. At the same time, Showbizz praised Crawford's unique background, noting that his early experience in wrestling has given him an exceptional ability to read opponents, counter their tactics, and adapt under pressure.
Canelo uses his legs, he uses his core, and then his neck itself to lift up Bivol like Bivol was a featherweight. That is a huge representation of how strong Canelo is. When you look at his workouts, you can tell why he was able to do that. All these damn neck exercises that I wouldn't dare do. Okay, that stuff looks painful. The squatting and all that stuff that he's doing is exactly why Canelo Alvarez, honestly, is a strong fighter. He tried to do it again with William Skull. William Skull shook out of it, but he is a bull. Listen, Terence Bud Crawford is strong. He is, okay? And he understands leverage and he understands those things because he wrestled. Honestly, very true. But Saul Canelo Alvarez is also extremely strong.
Across the boxing community, one consistent theme has emerged. Crawford's strategy will be critical in determining the outcome of this fight. Analysts agree that this is not just another bout on the calendar, but a defining moment in Crawford's career, one that could solidify his place among the all-time greats. A victory over a champion like Canelo would erase lingering doubts and elevate Crawford's legacy to new heights. To achieve this, Crawford must rely on precision, patience, and adaptability, avoiding reckless exchanges where Canelo's power could be most dangerous. Analysts argue that Crawford's game plan should focus on controlling distance, using angles to neutralize Canelo's forward march, and gradually wearing him down. This fight, they say, will come down to mental sharpness as much as physical ability, with the winner likely being the one who can stay composed and stick to their strategy for all 12 rounds.
He understands that he has to be smart. And I think with this one specifically, it ain't just about being smart. He knows he has to look like he's never looked before. Because again, if he doesn't and he beats Canelo, everybody's just going to say, well, that's Crawford. You know, so I think he knows that this is the performance of a lifetime and everything has to look right. He knows in order for it to look right, he can't just go out there and let the dog go. The dog is, you got to work his way up to the dog. Hey, show the clip real quick. I don't know if you showed it already, but this is the dog you're talking about right here, right? And so this is, I pulled this clip right here. I seen it on social media this morning.
Don't do that. That's what I'm saying.
And I pulled this clip, right? But this is Terence.
That's who he is.
He's not gonna swing on Canelo. He already know that part of the game. But what I asked you, were you ever trying to send a message to your opponents? He's letting you know, and it's no act. And that's what I really wanted to show, is that's not an act.
No.
That's not, there's 30 security guards.
I don't know, it feels a little contrived.
You think so?
I think a lot of people feel it's a little like.
Well, I'm glad you used a big word that most of us don't know.
Hey, I don't fight as good as you guys. I had to learn some big words, right, to make up for that.
Don't look it up. Just ignore.
You
what
need big words to get out of fights. You need big words to get out of fights. But okay. So case in point, our guy Hafey, sitting right there, producer extraordinaire. He had a picture of Terence Crawford in New York for the Crawford Spence press conference. And there was this look when Terence, he gave this look to Spence that reminded me of like Dwight Muhammad Kawi and a young George Foreman. And
super middleweight contender Edgar Berlanga has offered his take on Crawford's mindset going into the Canelo fight. Berlanga urged Crawford to stay true to the style and approach that have brought him success rather than trying to change too much to compensate for the size difference. He acknowledged that moving up 2 weight divisions is a massive challenge, but also pointed out that it naturally levels the playing field in some ways. According to Berlanga, Crawford's skill, ring IQ, and ability to adapt will be more important than trying to match Canelo physically. He stressed that Crawford should focus on clean execution, discipline, and maintaining his composure under pressure. Berlanga's perspective underscores that, regardless of the result, Crawford is already demonstrating the mindset of a champion by taking on such a dangerous fight. In his view, this willingness to face the toughest challenges is what separates great fighters from the rest.
First of all, he got to go in there and he just got to fight him. You know what I'm saying? He got to go in there. I think Crawford just got to go in there and do what he got to do. You know what I'm saying? He got to just be Crawford, show his IQ, show him why he's a 2-time undisputed, world champion, and go in there with confidence. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. It's a big weight difference, a big weight jump. That could be a difference in the fight. Because obviously, it's like me jumping up to heavyweight. Obviously, I'm a foot of power. I'm a foot of that size difference, compared to my other fights. So I just think that he got to go in there and just be himself. And I said, if he loses, we'll just all know that, hey, he just jumped up 2 weight classes to be great. You know what I'm saying? It's not, he's testing himself. He's testing himself a great fighter. So, and I don't doubt him, I don't got no doubt in my mind. He's a 2-time undisputed world champion for a reason. So, and I don't think nothing's going to phase him in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the power, maybe the size, you know what I'm saying? And, Canelo, he's not knocking Canelo out. So, he just got to go in there, just IQ.
Would you lean towards Canelo still in that fight?
I got faith in him. I think Crawford could do it. You know what I'm saying? I think he could do it. Just like I said, just the size. The only shit that throws the fight off is the size and, obviously the power. And Canelo's IQ too, because Canelo got IQ, you know what I'm saying? And Canelo fought a lot much bigger guys, So I know the Crawford's power ain't gonna phase him. I know Crawford's size ain't gonna phase him either, you know what I'm saying? So, but for me, I think it's a 50-50 fight.
Legendary trainer and commentator Teddy Atlas has kept his assessment simple yet powerful. He believes Terence Crawford is special and has greatness within him. Atlas sees in Crawford a rare combination of physical tools, technical mastery, and mental strength that allows him to rise to any occasion. He has pointed out that greatness is not simply about talent, but about the ability to deliver when the stakes are highest. In Atlas's opinion, Crawford has repeatedly demonstrated that quality throughout his career. This fight against Canelo is, in Atlas's eyes, another opportunity for Crawford to showcase his greatness on the biggest stage.
Maybe he's a little overrated.
Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds.
Canelo's really good. Really good. But I think Crawford is special. I know he hasn't fought the resume everyone wants, but you have that or you don't have that ingredient. I think he has it. Canelo's really good. He's tremendous. But could he be a tiny bit overrated? The greatness is within Crawford. It's in his desire. It's in his mind. It's in his makeup, where he came from. I know he's moving up in weight class. Can he carry it? You know, but those intangibles, I believe that he has them.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.